Everything you need to know about router security to avoid getting hacked by cybercriminals. The bad news: most people don't give a second thought to their routers. This lack of know-how puts a lot of households in a dangerous position. The United States, some 8 help beef up your router's security. Here are 5 tactics for protecting your home network, to files from hackers. Before you start, make sure you can get into your router's administration console. This is where you manage. First, make sure your computer is connected, either wired or wirelessly, to your router. Open a web browser and type in the router's IP address. The IP address, if you're a criminals love unsecured home Wi-Fi networks. Securing your this is why it's important to protect your Wi-Fi network with strong encryption. If you are required to enter a password to connect to your Wi-Fi, you already have some encryption enabled on your router. There are different types of Wi-Fi encryption, and you have to make sure that it's the most secure one you can employ. The most widely used Wi-Fi security protocol right now is still Wi-Fi Protected Access 2 WPA2 encryption. However, if you're shopping for a new router, look for one that supports the newest security standard called. These models have however, if you have older Wi-Fi gadgets, you might have to select the hybrid option WPA2. Never choose Open No Security, or if it is using web, change the security setting immediately. An open network, if the only encryption options your router has are web or WPA, tell your router to check for a firmware update. Look in your manual. Don't have your manual anymore? Try or. If there's no firmware update or your router updates but you're still stuck with WPA or web, it's time to buy a new router. These encryption A great tactic is to put visitor devices on a separate network. You do this by guest networks are meant for visitors to your home who might need a Wi-Fi internet connection, but you don't want them gaining access to the shared files and devices within your network. This segregation will also work for your smart appliances, and it can shield your main devices from specific Internet of Things attacks. To avoid confusion with your primary network, set up your guest network with a different network name, SSID and password. Please make sure newer routers do this segmentation automatically. With this feature, with this virtual zoning of your network, you can still allow all your smart appliances and hubs to communicate with each other while keeping your main computing gadgets safe in the event of an Internet of Things attack. Also, if you're worried about ward rivers or people roaming around looking for Wi-Fi spots to hack, you can disable the broadcasting of your network and your guest network's name SSID entirely. To shield your kids from inappropriate sites, most routers have built-in content filters, parental controls on time-based restrictions. To enable these filters, visit your router's administrator page or app again and look for a section called Parental. You can even set filters for specific IP and MAC addresses. The downside of this: to take this a bit further, turn on MAC Multimedia Access Control filtering. With MAC filtering, you have likely heard of a VPN virtual private network, which is an excellent way to boost your online security and privacy. With a VPN, your gadget's IP address is hidden from websites and services that you visit, and you're able to browse anonymously. Web traffic is VPN services are typically accessed via software, but some newer routers can be configured with VPN capabilities straight into the router itself. Instead of protecting, routers with this capability have open-source router software support such as DDWRT, and they can be configured to use services like OpenVPN. Currently, there are a variety of open-source and OpenVPN-capable routers to choose from, but the most popular models are the ANA. One valuable tool that can protect your router from hackers is a firewall. With it, almost every newer router has built-in firewall protections in place. They might be labeled. With these controls, you can configure and specify your network's outgoing and incoming data ports and protect it from intrusions. Be careful when to check if your router's firewall and your ports are secure. For a quick test, what digital lifestyle questions do you have? Call my end. This article originally appeared on USA Today.